Okay. Once you have a bridge person or some link that can really recommend you to the place you're interested in approaching, you want to know how to get an interview there. How do you use that person to get the interview? The first thing you want is that it should not be you that calls the employer. If you possibly can work it, you want the bridge person to be the person that calls the employer, because the employer will take their phone call. They may never take yours, especially if you hit one of those systems on their telephone where press 3 if you want so-and-so, press 5 if you want so-and-so. You won't get through. But if you find a bridge person who actually knows that place, knows that person that's there, then they will take their call. So that's the first problem of getting an interview. Can you get in? Can you get your phone call in to make a request for an interview? First wisdom about that, as I said, use the bridge person. Try to get them to make the phone call. Secondly, when you go in, you have to think what the interview is going to be. It's going to be two of you sizing each other up. The thing that will remind you of, if you just let your mind flow free, the thing that's going to remind you of is it feels like a first date in high school, where you know somebody and they look like they might be somebody you'd like to go out with, and you're exploring, is there anything wrong with this person? So you have this initial conversation before you agree to do the first date. That's what interviewing is. It's two people looking at each other, each of them deciding whether they want to go steady, even trying out going steady with the other. Now, I'm not talking about that as a sexual relationship or anything. It's a metaphor that you can use to compare what interviewing really is like. It's not like selling a car. You're not a car. You're not trying to sell yourself to this employer. You're trying to figure out whether the two of you like each other enough, whether you like what they are doing by way of work, and so on. So the second thing to do before you ever go into the interview is think out what you want to know about that person. Not what do they know about you. That's the mistake so many advisors and books make. They say, well, you got to figure out how to sell yourself. No, you don't. You have to figure out what you want to know about them. I remember a woman that told me when she got hired, and when she got her first paycheck, she went into shock. And I said, what did you think they were going to pay you? And she said, oh, I never discussed it with them. I just assumed it would be a good salary. It was minuscule. It was for an ice cream company, and she could barely buy a Dixie cup with what they gave her. So you have to decide what you want to know. Secondly, then you have to decide what you think the employer is going to want to know about you. There's an easy way to figure that out. There are 4 main headings that go on in the head of an employer, whether they ever say it out loud or not. It's going on in their head. The first question is, why did you pick on me? Why are you here? Why aren't you bothering somebody down the street? So you have to be able to give them the answer why you're there. The second thing they want to know is, what is it you think you could do here that would really help me? You have to be thinking of yourself as a problem solver. What problems do you think they've got that you could help solve were they to hire you? The third thing that's going to be in their mind is, do you have any negatives? How do you get along with people? If you're a team person, you've got to be ready to explain to them with concrete stories or examples that you are indeed someone that gets along well with other people. And the last question, of course, it's always going to be in their mind, what's the least I can get away with paying you? Because the employer is always trying to save costs, particularly in this heady economy that we're in. They're always going to try to get you for as little as they can. However, every employer usually has a range. If it's anything above the level of a hamburger joint, they have a range in their head. Here's how high I'm willing to go at the most, but I hope I can get them for less than that. That's what the employer is thinking. So you have to assume that they have a range, and you have to assume that they're going to try to get you at the low part of the range, and you, before the interview is over, you're going to want to get as high up in that range as possible. But that is saved to the end. Go in through the bridge person. Know ahead of time you have the right to judge whether you want to work there as much as they have the right to decide whether they want you. Have questions prepared that you want to know the answers to. Have answers prepared you think they'll want to know the answers to. And you'll be more ready for that interview than 3/4 of the people that ever come for an interview at that company or that organization.
Good. I like that.
Good.
Do you think you could get a job at North?